1, 2, 3, clap. Okay?
1, 2, clap.
Yeah, exactly. Ready? 1, 2, 3, clap. Perfect. That's the best anybody's ever done it. I can guarantee you.
No sense in me guessing what went wrong. No proof of you knowing what is right for me. Well, I'll consume it till it's gone. Oh, I know I got nothing left in me. Why don't you steady the love?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Sidecar Sessions. I'm your host, David Dyer. Today, my guest, fellow comedian, Costaki Economopoulos. Let's tell people how to get a hold of you. You can go to Costaki.com.
That's right.
You can go to Funny Costaki on Twitter.
That's correct.
And then on Instagram, it's just Costaki Economopoulos. And if you don't know how to spell it, they can go to the website and figure that out, right?
Yeah. Google will get you to where you need to be.
And you are we're in my hometown of Grand Rapids. You are in town for the weekend at Dr. Grin's.
It's beautiful.
Performing. Yeah, it's a gorgeous day out today, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
And you know what? The whole goal of this show, if I get my guests back alive, it's usually a win.
That's a win. That's the key to life, my friend. Low expectations.
Yes, it is. You know what? Don't you find that out early, especially in comedy? You're like, look it, don't expect a whole lot, you know? I know what I'm asking you for this private gig. Just don't expect a ton out of it. So you're originally from Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Born and raised?
Yeah, not born, but pretty much raised in suburban Atlanta.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know you're a big Hawks fan, or a big Falcons fan, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Because you're a huge NFL guy.
Yeah.
Because you do also a thing, people should know, you do a thing called Quick Snaps.
That's right.
Which is a lot of very football-related humor, and you do that on the Bob and Tom Show, which is kind of how we met.
Right.
Through doing stuff through the Bob and Tom Show. But you also do it on stations all over the country, right?
Yes. Yeah, I've got about 15 independents.
Okay.
And I got a new syndicator this year, and we're growing the thing, my friends. Look at this church. It's beautiful.
Isn't that gorgeous? That's an Episcopalian church. I got to tell you, that's the church that I was confirmed in for my Episcopalian faith.
Is that right?
Now, if I went in there right now, chances are the mortar would fly out of the bricks, and it would immediately be unstable. But yes, that's a beautiful church.
There seems to be a rainbow flag on that church.
There is. It's Episcopalian.
It's pretty progressive.
We're very accepting of everybody.
That's nice.
Anybody who's willing to throw a few shekels into the basket, come on in.
Nice. Now,
I don't think that's the motivation. But
am I supposed to take this whole ride and not bust your balls about your mustache?
You can do whatever you want. You should have seen how upset Tom Griswold was the last time I was on the show. Like, almost visibly upset, like, what are you doing? You know, sort of like my father. If my father was still alive, he'd be like, come on, you know, you're 50. Get some direction.
It's a bold choice. Was it on
It is
purpose?
a bold choice. Yes, it was on. You don't have this walrus face by accident.
Did you grow a beard and then shave and then you stopped? Or did you plan the mustache from the beginning?
I planned the mustache from the beginning because, as you may know, I'm also a firefighter now too. And you can't have a beard as a firefighter because of our air masks, our SCBA masks. The mask has to form a tight seal to your face. That's why you see a lot of firefighters with mustaches.
Wow.
It's because we want to have some sort of facial hair, but we can't have a full beard.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
What's your next album titled? Midlife Crisis?
No, I think, no. Well, that's a good one.
So, I also want to take issue with the status of this interview, the way it's laid out. You're driving. You're like 1.5 feet taller than me.
Right.
What were the other rejected ideas? The Olympic medal podiums? And you had the interviewee on the bronze medal podium?
Well, the thought of my guest being higher than me went out the window right away. I'm only 5'6", so this is the only time I get to tower over people. You are, in addition to being a fantastic comedian, pretty recently married. How many years have you been married?
Oh, five plus. Yeah.
And I met your wife when we did a gig, I think in Missouri together, right? Is that where it was?
Yeah, where was that?
We went out to breakfast at Cracker Barrel. Your wife's breakfast was great. You couldn't stand yours. I don't remember what you ordered, but it was
that at all.
You didn't like it. Because I just remember you started complaining, and I was on the other side of the table going, oh, Christ, here we go.
You've been married like 100 years, right?
26.
Wow. So at this phase, you don't ask permission on the mustache? You just do it?
No, we are well beyond asking.
This is more of a forgiveness, not a permission situation?
Yes, you will get to a point in your marriage where you're like, you know what? I'm sick of people saying no. It's worth the silence for a couple weeks to just do the shit I want to do.
Good for you.
But you have a lovely wife who's a photographer.
Yes.
Yep.
A lot of her income now is coaching other photographers on how to build their businesses.
Okay, good.
So she's a photographer and a photography coach.
So consulting.
Yeah, she's more of a teacher.
Okay, good. Good for her.
Yeah.
And you guys recently moved to Los Angeles.
Yes, within a year, yeah.
And the reason for the move, was that for her work?
First kid's mom's work.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Gotcha. Because I know you have a new baby, but you also have a daughter.
Yep. We got
And
a 10-year-old and a 1-year-old.
Nice. Little 9-year-old span. That's convenient, huh?
Yeah.
They share the same toys?
No, sir. The little one is the toy for the 10-year-old.
Oh, really? Good. Well, she's probably thrilled, though. Doesn't she love having a little sister?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been great. In fact, that's what made it real for us when we told Ava about it. It was great.
Yeah.
It was great. Yeah, it's been cool, man. We both lived in LA prior, so
Right.
it's a little bit of a homecoming. And I always said about New York, I hate the climate and I love the rest of it.
Right.
And I feel exactly the opposite about Los Angeles.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the climate is amazing and LA is creepy.
That's got to be a tough area to raise a kid because, man, oh, man. Every time I've been out to LA, that's one of the first thoughts is you sit there going, how the hell does anybody raise a family out here?
Yeah, right. Well, here's the thing. I never really liked LA, but I love California.
Yeah.
So I'm just embracing the California parts of our life, and it's great. We have a yard now. We got a fire pit.
Yeah.
We got a hammock. We have a little townhouse. So we have literally 2 or 3 times the space we had in New York.
Right.
And life's good. We have a walkable street. We can take the stroller and go have a cup of coffee and get some nice food. And our day-to-day existence is actually really nice.
So it sounds like since you've gotten to LA, you've never left your block.
I haven't left much. No. I've been raising a baby.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
That's
That first year is a blur, man.
Oh, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite time with both my kids was from age 1 to 2. It's just, there's so much growth and so much development that happens in that year.
Yeah.
It's amazing. From them walking to starting to say a word to putting a little sentence together.
I actually like all the years. A friend of mine told me when I was having a baby, every time you think this is your favorite part, the next part will be even better. And I found that to be true.
Yeah, well, good for him.
I like a 10-year-old.
Yeah, 10-year-olds are a lot of fun. They're very inquisitive, very want to know what's going on, want to start to get involved in stuff with you.
Yep. They're easy, too. You're like, go brush your teeth. Go take a shower.
Right.
You don't have to cut their grapes in half to keep them alive.
Yeah.
This is great. What area is this?
This is called East Town. This is kind of a little artsy area and lots of cool little shops and really good little restaurants. And
I like it.
And, yeah, it's very nice. And your wife is enjoying motherhood?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very labor intensive that first year. I mean,
yeah.
We both need a nap, but life's good. Yeah, the kid's awesome. Look at this neighborhood. This is great.
Now this is we're into what's called East Grand Rapids. This is kind of the old money affluent part of town.
Okay.
Now look at, I've seen your act, you've seen my act. We're probably not living in this neighborhood. Right?
Yet.
I'm always optimistic. We did a gig one time. I don't know if you were on that thing or not, but we did a Bob and Tom gig up in Traverse City one time, and it was in the winter. And Kevin Brady, the promoter who books us to do those shows, was getting in my car, and he said, he goes, hey, does this have heated seats? And I said, you've seen the act.
You know what you're paying me.
Yeah. Did you start doing comedy in Atlanta?
Yeah. I mean, my early days were in college at the University of Georgia in Athens, Georgia.
Okay.
So those were the early days. We would charge $1. We had a little club of like amateur comedians. And we had a show at a place, here and there, twice a month kind of thing.
Right.
we would charge $1 for the flyers just so we could pay for the next round of flyers. At one point, I bought a bullhorn, and I would go to the bus stops on campus, and for a little while, I had a sandwich board with a bullhorn, and I would tell people about the shows.
Yeah.
We were into it. I mean, we were terrible, but
Right.
it was nice that your friends would come, and you could learn how to be a comic in a safe place.
Did the bullhorn irritate the shit out of people?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was a terrible idea.
Yeah.
But it had to be tried.
Now, when you were in New York, did you ever do the thing where you had to stand outside a club and pass out flyers?
No.
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 Is that kind of really old thing, or do people still do that?
No, that still happens. I'm just not, I'm not that driven.
No.
There was a time when I was. I did
Sure.
everything. I used to take a gig in Oklahoma from
Yeah.
Atlanta just so I had an excuse to stop in Nashville and Dallas and do guest sets.
Right.
I mean, I did everything. So I'm not above it. I was above it when I got to New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have friends who, they don't do this anymore, but even up to a couple of years ago, actually a friend of ours that, I'll remain nameless, but a common friend of ours, who would drive to like Dayton, Ohio to get a guest set at a club down there for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, you go, look at, is this going to move the ball forward at all? You're going to spend a shitload of money in gas. You've got 5 hours one way to get down there. You got to start asking yourself, is this doing anything? And
Yeah.
if not, don't do it.
It's a good question.
Yep.
For me, it worked great. At the time, I was like a burgeoning middle act. I had a really tight 5 or 6 or 7.
Yep.
I would go in, they never heard of me, and I was way better than they expected me to be.
Oh, that's the best, isn't it?
It turned into work, it worked pretty well.
Yeah. That is the best when they don't, yeah, sure, go ahead. You can do a few minutes, and then you just rock it for a few minutes.
Right.
That is great. See, when I started, there are a ton more open mics now than when I started. And I don't know if it's the same with you. I mean, maybe in a big city like Atlanta, it was different. But when I started here in Grand Rapids, there was no open mic. The closest place I could get on stage was Lansing, which is just over an hour away.
Really?
And there was one place that had an open mic one night a week, and you weren't guaranteed to get a spot.
Right.
So, I mean, that was it.
Yeah, they were definitely harder to come by when we were kids. I think that's broadly true.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you could make a living as a middle act then, and that's kind of over now.
Oh, my gosh.
Right? So
Yeah.
that's a trade-off.
Yeah. Late 80s, early 90s, you would do clubs where you would be featuring and you'd get like $1,500 for the week.
Right. I missed that era completely.
Yeah, so did I.
In a way, I was lucky because I came in after everything died.
Yep.
And so every year was always better for me than the year prior.
Right.
Guys who started 5 years before me were bitter because everything went down the tubes.
Yeah.
But I never saw the Corey days, so for me it was all like, I don't know, I'm making a living telling jokes. I win.
Right. I started in 92. I don't know what you started, but I started basically when clubs were closing their doors left and right.
Yeah, same here. My first year in Atlanta, when I really got serious about doing stand-up, there were 6 comedy clubs at the beginning of that year.
Right.
And it was the first year the Braves were good in 20 years. And that combination of the boom ending and the Braves being good killed everything. And there were 2 clubs left at the end of that year. And one of them was a black club. So there's really only one mainstream club left.
You don't do well in front of the black crowds?
Not traditionally.
Okay.
I have. I have. And when you do well in front of a black crowd, it is fun.
Yeah, and you'll remember it too.
Oh, yeah. One of the black clubs in Atlanta had a tradition. I mean, they had an old school construct. They would have the headliner host the show. He would open the show, close the show, do time between everybody.
Yeah.
And the show would be like 3-4 hours long.
Right.
And then there'd be like 25 guys doing a few minutes. And they had a tradition on open mic night. They would tell the audience to take their keys out and put them on the table.
Yeah.
And if they didn't like the comic, to shake their keys. And the sound of 300 black people vigorously shaking their keys is not subtle.
No, I can't imagine.
Oh, my goodness.
Have 2 of them do it. That would be bad enough.
Yeah, 2 would be enough.
Let alone the whole room.
I was the only white guy who didn't work there in the club.
Yeah.
And I wasn't ready to do well in a mainstream room. I certainly wasn't ready for that.
Oh, no.
And they hated my guts. But it was short.
Yeah. I did a club one time, and it was on a Tuesday night, and it was pretty much that night was an all black crowd.
Oh, yeah.
They were short staffed. They had 5 new menu items that the cooks had not been trained how to make. The feature act, the opening guy, really nice guy named Dino Posey, who was a local guy down there. They loved him. You know, I think he hosted a lot, knew the crowd well, and did a great job. The middle act was a guy, I won't say his name, but he was from Seattle. And when you met him, you realized you were either witnessing the current effects of drugs, or he was no longer on drugs but had been so messed up on drugs, he was permanently kind of screwed up. And he, at 2 different points in his act, humped the bar stool.
Nice.
And poured water all over him to simulate, I'm sure you can imagine what he was simulating. And they hated his guts.
Yep.
They hated him. So by the time my fat right foot with a Chuck Taylor even came out of the wings, they hated me. I didn't have a chance. The agency called me the next day and said, "Hey, there's a chance we might have to replace you."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Give me another night. Give me one more chance."
And
next night went a lot better.
that was one of the first multi-night clubs I ever worked because it was drivable from Atlanta, right?
Right.
So, similar deal. The headliner was James Stevens III. Remember
Okay.
him?
No.
Black guy, did a lot of Yo Mama jokes, had a keyboard. Actually, you know, not my favorite kind of thing, but really good at what he did.
No, but don't you love a Yo Mama joke?
Yeah, you know.
I love a Yo Mama joke.
So James did a bunch of urban radio.
Okay.
And by the weekend, the place was packed, and it was like 97% black.
Okay.
What's the worst middle act for that show? I'm the opener.
Okay.
That was a terrible booking, too. But the middle act was astounding.
Who was it?
Give me a couple guesses.
It's someone they liked?
There's actually someone who came in to audition to headline.
Is it Greg Hahn?
No, Greg might have been able to pull it off. It was T.C. Hatter and Marcy Ann, a white clown who doesn't talk.
He's a mime.
Yep. And a woman behind him playing clarinet.
Oh, would have gotten eaten alive.
They hated us so much.
Yeah.
By the end of the weekend, they had trimmed me down to like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And he was doing like 14. And then James would kill for like an hour 10.
And the funny thing is in that situation, they don't even want you to do 5, but they're like, we're paying the guy, he's got to do something.
They don't want me to be there at all.
Right.
No, and neither did I.
Yeah.
We should have made it. We should have talked it through. Yeah, every night it was like a joke. I would come in. I was like, all right, TC, I got my lucky shirt on. We're turning it around tonight. Nope.
Our friend Stu McAllister.
I love Stu.
Yep. He's a good man. He and I did a gig. There's a place on the east side of the state called the Holly Hotel.
Yeah, I know that one.
Holly, Michigan.
I think
Yep.
I did it 15 years ago.
Well,
somewhere.
Stu and I did it one time, and then the second show Friday never should have happened. Never should have happened. and it happened. And it was about 10 people, a group of 6 and a group of 4. Everybody was hammered. But beyond hammered to where they were obnoxious, hammered to where like they should have been served, they were just all kind of silent. And Stu, the MC eats it. Stu is eating it. There's not a sound. Nobody's laughing. Nobody's making a noise. And at a certain point, Stu goes, "You know, folks, some of these jokes are just for me." And a guy goes, "Keep them to yourself." And I just about wet my pants and have to walk out of the room because I'm laughing so goddamn hard. And then of course, I ate it too. We all ate it. But just the fact that the only noise these people made was to tell Stu to keep his jokes to himself.
Yeah. I love it. The stories of failure are even better when you know they're good comics.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it even sweeter.
Doesn't this job, the thing I love, this job just toughens you up. Because, like, there's so little that bothers me. I'm like, I've done stand-up for 26 years. I've played to some of the shittiest groups of people you can imagine. I've been told no a million times. You can't bug me. You can't bother me.
I can see that.
Yeah.
You made a choice with your face. It's things don't bug you.
I love it. I love it. And you know what? It came in a lot thicker than I expected it
It is
to.
thicker than I would have guessed.
This is one of those things that if you're going to do it, this is a little advice for the viewers. You got to commit. Because every time you try to grow a mustache, you get to about the 2-week point, and you look at it and you go, I look fucking ridiculous.
Right.
And you shave it off. But you got to get past that. You got to punch past that wall and get to about the 3 or 4 week period. And you're like, that's good. What? But what?
It's good.
It's not great.
Are you able to see yourself in the mirror?
Yeah.
What do you mean it's good?
I love it. And
does-
here's the other thing.
It does look like you got out of a time machine.
Women hate it. Guys love it. I kind of look like Craig Stadler got in shape a little bit. Remember the walrus? Stadler had the huge
I do
mustache?
remember Stadler. I forgot that guy.
He was a good golfer.
Well, yes, we got public transportation here. I didn't know that.
Of course we got buses, for God's sakes. What do you think we...
But this looks like a significant. This is not just a little.
Not your normal bus stop,
line.
right?
Yeah.
No.
The city's beautiful.
It is a nice town, isn't it?
It really is.
I love this town. I grew up here. Really don't have a desire to leave. It's
Has
got
it-
everything you'd want?
Has it occurred to you that this new show you're doing on the motorcycle is a seasonal show?
Oh, yeah. You
gotta-
know what the plan is?
you
The
gotta
winter
put this-
ones are just going to be shot in my garage.
You-
So when you're in LA, you make the move to LA.
Yep.
You're out there. Is because you were in New York before. Is travel a bigger pain in the butt now, or is it actually easier?
It's much worse because most of my gigs are here.
Okay.
You know, because
Do a ton of stuff in the Midwest.
Yeah, I'm coming to Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, Wisconsin, and it is a pain in the ass to get here from California.
Right.
In fact, I end up taking a lot of red-eye flights on Wednesday nights now.
Do you go out of LAX, or do you use John Wayne or some of the smaller airports, Burbank, things like that? What's easiest?
It's mostly LAX because there's so many choices. It can be cheaper, you know.
Right.
But Burbank's great if you can swing that once in a while.
Yeah. Is that? But it's not cheaper.
No.
I know in New York, yeah, at least we're part of some of the scene of going to the clubs and stuff like that in New York. But are you doing anything like that in LA?
You know what? I'm just starting to again because we moved with a newborn and we just kind of buckled down and been taking care of the kids. And
Right.
the comedy and Magic Club in Hermosa Beach remembered me
It's a great place.
10 years ago and had me back, and they've been good to me.
Good.
I do lots of work from home with football jokes and the radio stuff.
Yep.
But I only go out like every other weekend. So I'm only gone like 5, 6, 7 nights a month.
Right.
That's pretty.
That's manageable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
So let's talk about the quick snaps thing, because as we mentioned earlier, this is, you're a huge football fan, and you decided to start writing some jokes. Now, I guess the question is, what was the germination of that, and where did you first perform them?
Well, you know what? I was doing a segment on Bob and Tom called the Economopoulos.
Yep.
And every week was a different subject. I would just take anything that had bullet points, and it was like a writing exercise.
Okay.
Like I did phobias, because there were, 30 weird phobias. I could figure I could write 9, 10 good jokes, right?
Yeah.
One year I did, Halloween traditions. One time I did Dante's Inferno. I was like, well, there's 9 syllables.
Yeah.
Should be able to write 9 jokes at least.
The list is practically built for you.
So I was doing that for like 2 or 3 years, and it was starting to work. Like I was going to the Funny Bone in South Bend. People were starting to come see me on purpose, and I was like, oh, I like this. This is what I've been wanting.
Right.
Let me pitch an all football version of sports radio.
Yeah.
So I'll have another version of this thing.
Gotcha.
And while that pitch was failing, because sports radio is they take themselves very seriously.
Oh, don't they?
Oh, my
We can get
goodness.
into that in a minute.
I can't tell you how many times I heard this when I was pitching in sports radio. Oh, this is great, but we don't do this.
Yeah, we don't do anything people enjoy, for God's sakes.
Like, I'm doing the jokes about the headlines that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, why would you do 7 minutes of that and then it's a jumping off point for the rest of the show?
Right.
No, we're X's and O's.
Here's
We
the
don't
thing.
do entertainment content.
Here's the thing I love about those shows. Okay, those shows I know exactly what you're talking about, because I've done little guest things on shows like that.
Right.
And they're always, it's that same attitude. We don't do that kind of stuff. We want stats. We want details and things like that. But then you sit there and you go, these shows turn over left and right.
Oh, they
They're
do.
They're turning over left and right. And the one guy who's super successful, Dan Patrick, is the perfect mix of pop culture and sports.
Yeah, he does a great job with that. I agree.
You're like, okay, you don't want that, but the guy who's doing the best with this format.
That's a good point. Dan Patrick is the only person, maybe he and Bob Costas, are the only people I can listen talk about something that I have no interest in, and I'm still engaged.
Yeah.
Like, they'll go on about baseball, which I don't give a shit about.
Right.
But it's still interesting because they're thoughtful guys.
Right.
Yeah.
And Dan Patrick doesn't inundate you with everybody's batting percentage, because I couldn't give a shit about that.
Right.
But he'll just talk about the generalities, and he's an interesting guy.
Right.
And I'm with you.
It's more big picture stuff.
Yep, exactly.
So to answer your question, as it was failing on sports radio, I was doing some of the football jokes on Bob and Tom.
Okay.
And their guys were telling them that they needed to do more sports content, and they loved it more than the prior thing I was doing. So
Okay.
it just morphed into an all football segment.
Good.
And then I've been successful kind of pitching out to other kind of morning Zoo Crew kind of radio.
Nice.
Hey, there's one of these pub things.
Yeah.
The bicycle pub. I love it.
Now they've got a pedal to move that thing, right?
I think so, yeah. So there's a bartender who's a freeloader on the transportation side, just standing there not pedaling.
I guess so. That looked like a bachelorette party. I always love seeing the bachelorette parties when they're doing something like that, because there's always one girl who this is the last thing she wanted to do. And she's kind of playing along, trying not to be too bitchy about it. But she still is doing a little bit of body language to let everybody know this was not my idea.
Now, why is this little pocket of Michigan safe from the rest of the economic downturn of the Rust Belt?
Well, I think because Grand Rapids has really kind of diversified itself a lot more than other parts of Michigan. So much of the southeastern part of Michigan was and still is in many cases so reliant on the auto industry.
Right.
And Grand Rapids still has a lot of that. We've got a lot of auto industry stuff here. We got a lot of tool and die shops, engineering firms and stuff like that that still work with the auto industry. But we've got a huge healthcare industry here. There's a couple of the biggest office furniture companies in the world are here. So there's a lot more diversity of business over here on this side of the state and in Grand Rapids than the east side of the state.
Nice.
And I think that's helped it weather the storm. So, is that the answer you were looking for?
Yeah, that's good.
All right.
Did I forget to put my seatbelt on?
There's no seatbelt. You can roll out at any time.
Do I have a roll bar?
Nope. There's my mustache. That's your airbag. I'll shove my face in front of you. Yeah.
I'd rather die.
Now let's look down the line. You are, obviously a very successful stand-up comedian, traveling all over the country. You got quick snaps. When you look down the road, with the way that things are evolving in comedy, whether it's stand-up clubs or what do you want to end up doing? Where do you say, hey, this is kind of where I'd like to start angling things towards?
You know what I'd really like is to continue to do what I'm doing, but at a higher level, right?
Right.
If there's a way to get more media exposure and work better venues, more seats, more fans. So I'm actually on exactly the right track. I just need to do more of the same.
Yeah.
I think if I could build out the football joke brand thing further, that's probably the path for me.
Right.
And, the internet is a beautiful, small d, democratic way to connect with people.
Right.
And I like that you can do it without necessarily being a part of show business.
Yeah.
I mean,
You're right.
Show business is great, but you also have to wait in line for a guy to anoint you in show business.
Yes.
And on the internet, you can build your own connection to the people.
Yep.
So
You're
I feel like that's the answer for me.
And you're right. I think the trend with a lot of people and probably the proper, business mindset is kind of creating that brand so that you have your fans who are going to come see you.
Right.
And I think we get a little taste of that. You get a little taste of that. We've done a lot of these Bob and Tom tour gigs and stuff like that. And you get a little taste of that because it's just amazing to me when we go someplace like Fresno, California. And, I live in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We go out there, we do a gig, and there's people coming up there afterwards and like, oh, man, we love you on the show. And you're like, I still can't make the connection. Well, how do you know who I am? Oh, we listen to the show, you idiot.
Right. Right.
So there's people in Fresno who love you and hear you, and it's great. When you can play to that crowd that knows who you are, and they came there because they want to see you.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so much fun.
Yeah, it changes the dynamic for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. And not just creatively, financially.
Yeah.
And you can work better places, and you have a better sort of day-to-day existence.
Better snacks backstage.
Yes, right. Better microphone, better seats, better
Yep.
sound.
Yep.
Better lights, better hotel.
Heated seats in your car. I want to make enough money where I can just take off on a motorcycle and say I'll be back in 5 years.
What's the facial hair like on that return trip?
Oh boy. Maybe Gandalfian. Maybe Lord of the Rings.
There's another, that's a different church with a rainbow flag.
Yeah.
My goodness.
We're very open here in Grand Rapids, Costaki.
Certainly are.
Yeah.
You could pass for gay with your mustache and your CrossFit.
I'll tell you what, yeah. There's no doubt that there is a certain kind of bear quality to the look I have going right now. I'm aware of that. But you know what? It's all about building a fan base. And if that becomes my fan base,
Yeah.
heated seats.
Nice.
Are you excited about being 50? I just turned 50 last October. I'll be 51 in a couple weeks.
Oh, nice.
So are you excited about it?
Yeah, for me, I've never had a crisis on a birthday.
Me neither.
I guess in part because I've always, knock on Russian metal. I've always, at the turn of my significant birthdays, I've always been pretty happy with where I am.
Oh, yeah. But
It's-
boy, you're 50 with a 1-year-old.
I know, right?
Wherever the graduation is held, the first thing you're going to want to know is, where are the bathrooms, right? We love her, we're proud, but where are the bathrooms? I'm going to have to use it a couple times.
It is true. Sometimes I pick up the kid and I'm like, my back. This is the job,
Jeez.
this is the job of a 30-year-old. What am I
Right,
doing?
yeah.
But hey, I could be Drew Hastings.
Oh, gosh, what is he, 86 now?
Yeah, I just had a baby.
Just had another one?
Just had a baby just now.
How old is Drew?
I honestly don't know, but I think it starts with a 6.
Yeah. I probably shouldn't have said it like that, too. Like, my reaction had a bit of a you idiot tone to it. But
Hey, it's all debatable. You could say you idiot to any child bearing of any kind.
True. Yeah, you could. Yep. Your lovely wife, it's Krista.
Yeah.
Okay, last name?
Economopoulos.
Is she going by that now?
Imagine what a crazy choice that is.
Boy, oh boy. That's career suicide, isn't it, for her, or no?
She kind of picks and chooses when she uses it.
Yeah. Now, how do you feel about the current state of stand-up? Are you having a good time with it still? You think some of the new people coming up, you liking some of those people?
Yeah, I don't know. I probably don't know as many of them as I would if I was in a slightly different slice of the comedy pie.
Right.
Because I'm doing a lot of self-produced shows, so I don't see a lot of those kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like what I've seen, and I think the crowds are still good, pretty smart for the most part.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to get people out.
That's the thing. We talked earlier about, when we started doing comedy was an era when a lot of the clubs were closing. And I mean, the reason is, it was obvious there was just such a saturation of stand-up out there between tons of clubs and stuff on TV.
Right.
I wonder sometimes with all the things on all the different outlets now, if it's going to kind of get to the same way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But also, I think an underreported aspect of the end of the comedy boom was the baby boomers aged out of their party years.
Yeah.
I mean, the 80s were people were going bananas and drinking and being out and running around. And that giant bubble of humans started having kids and aging a little bit, and they just went out less.
Yep.
And now the struggle is there's so many cheap entertainment choices in your house.
Yeah.
You can stay home and get a bottle of wine and watch Netflix and have a great night.
Yeah, and you're looking for like a young couple who wants to go out and have a good time. They're going out to dinner. They got to pay a babysitter. They got to pay parking. You're right. If there's a ton of stuff on Netflix, why would we leave the house?
Right. So it's just harder to get them to make that choice than it used to be. But it's still doable. People still have a great time. And there's nothing like live stand-up comedy. It's still
there's not.
It's still one of the best forms of, creativity in the world, I think.
I agree. And, I love, as far as for comedians, I love the advice that Steve Martin gave in his book. It's very simple. You've got to be so good that they can't ignore you.
Oh, yeah. You have to be undeniable.
Yep.
Right. I'm trying, Steve.
Yeah. Give me a break, Martin. God's sakes, you don't even know me and you're calling me out on this stuff. What do you think the mustache is? How can you ignore this?
How can you ignore the helmet? So the height disadvantage wasn't bad enough? You got to give me this thing?
You look great in it. It makes you look like a free thinker. You're an open mind. You're a free spirit. It's like you chose that one. You didn't really, but...
So when you bought this thing, it was all one piece already?
Oh, yeah, yeah. You can't buy this bike, at least in North America, without the sidecar on it. I think in Russia, they make a model that doesn't have the sidecar. But most of them all have the sidecars.
What was the argument for the sidecar? That's a retro thing that was popular for a while, right?
Yeah, I think it's, well, I hope it's popular. I got some money invested in this goddamn thing.
But why did that fade? Why? I mean, in the old days, you saw sidecars a lot. Now, almost never.
I think motorcycling faded for a while, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But you know what? I think you see a lot more sidecars than you used to. You see them a lot more on commercials and stuff like that. I think they're coming back. I think this thing's going to be big.
All right. Yeah, I love motorcycles. I miss mine. I had a Honda 450 for a number of years when I was a college kid.
Yeah.
I loved it.
It's fun, isn't it?
So fun. You're just sitting on an engine.
Yep.
It's so fast.
It's so much. That's the thing you tell people is, look, at the slowest motorcycle is still faster than most cars out there.
Oh, sure.
So.
And you're connected to the world.
Yeah.
You can feel the air temperature bubbles. You can reach down and touch the ground. There's mist and sound and light, and you're in the world instead of inside of a bubble.
I've told my wife, you've never experienced life until you've smelled roadkill on a motorcycle. This is a really good theater here. It's the Civic Theater. They do a lot of great plays.
Nice.
We've got culture left and right, Costaki.
You should work for the Chamber of Commerce here.
I know.
This is a great tour.
What if you go back to watch this and that's exactly what this is? Grand Rapids Chamber of Commerce all over it. Don't you love Josh Arnold on that show?
I do. Josh is great.
He's so funny and he's so smart and so quick.
He's also generous and he's like a nice guy.
Yep, he is. He's a great guy.
Yeah, he's great.
He was a great, obviously Bob is missed. Bob was, just such a staple, and Bob was a great sharpshooter, had fantastic comments and a great laugher and everything like that. But I think Josh has filled that void beautifully to where he's just a great addition to that show.
Yeah, he's done a great job. I liked him before he was doing that. I knew him a little bit as a comic before.
Okay. We
had some mutual friends, and I always liked Josh.
Yep. The best place to find Costaki Economopoulos is...
Well, ground zero is Costaki.com. It's
okay.
7 letters, Costaki.com. And that'll get you to anywhere else you want to be. The Facebook page is actually kind of home base for me and all my football jokes and all the doings. That's been a fun place to connect with the fans and do the football stuff. And of course, Twitter is my favorite joke playground. That's where I just try everything. That's where I just throw everything against the wall. Especially on Sunday afternoons. If you want to follow me on Twitter on Sunday, it's kind of extra fun.
While you're watching the games?
Yeah. I'm just writing, and pushing stuff out and seeing what sticks.
Yeah.
It's fun, man. I love social media.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, isn't it?
Look at you. You built a show around this knucklehead idea.
I'm trying anyway.
It's great. I can't believe how much I enjoyed this.
You did enjoy it.
I really did. I'm sad it's over.
It's fun. It's fun. It's very comfortable.
Perfect temperature. Beautiful city.
Once again, folks, Sidecar Sessions, David Dyer, Costaki Economopoulos, thank you so much for being part of the show.
Oh, my goodness.
Costaki.com, Funny Costaki on Twitter, and Costaki Economopoulos on Instagram. This is Sidecar Sessions. Thank you very much for watching. We are out.